Microsoft PowerPoint 2007, Exporting and Publishing. Before we get into the more advanced nuggets on some of the formatting and the backgrounds and the themes, we probably want to know about how we can save these files in case someone else needs to edit them. Backwards compatibility is very important. Or maybe you want to send this file to somebody who doesn't even have PowerPoint. Get ready, get set, let's go. Here in this nugget, we're going to take a look at, first off, the file formats that PowerPoint 2007 utilizes. We got some new little things that we need to be aware of. Then we're going to see how we can make our files backwards compatible with older versions of PowerPoint 2003, 2000, XP, all the way back even to 97. And then we'll finish up with showing you how to package it for a CD so that even anyone who doesn't have PowerPoint, they can still show your PowerPoint presentation on their computer. Alright, so what's the big deal about this whole thing about file formats? Because I'm sure those of you who have been using PowerPoint for a while, even here in the 2007, you'll notice things like, well, it's in compatibility mode, and what does that mean? And if I want to save this for an older version of your Office products like PowerPoint 2003 or XP or 2000. Well, the reason why is that Microsoft has moved into utilizing the OpenXML format, and that is why you'll notice that your default is going to be the PPTX file. So if you looked at one of our presentations, as we're going to show you here in a little bit, is that the end, the little extension there is .pptx, which stands for using the OpenXML. Well, what's that? Well, not to get into the nitty-gritty details, because if you really want to get into XML and what it is, you can spend a lot of time digging through it. But basically, XML is extensible markup language, and it's the universal format for data now on the World Wide Web. It's what everybody's using. And so what they've done is, because Microsoft, Bill Gates and all those guys, they wanted to make sure that software is not just local machine dependent, but it's something that can be used in the World Wide Web and on the internet, and has a lot of open standard type of environments. And so XML is one of those really big open standards. Now what this means is that your file formats, if you use Office 2007 products, in this case PowerPoint 2007, that the older versions won't be able to understand these formats. They'll be like, we have no idea what you're talking about. So you have to be careful, and we're going to show you, you can actually save as or make sure that your Office products, PowerPoint 2007, saves the file in a format that other people can understand. However, if you're running in an environment that everybody's using the Office 2007, or you're using it in that matter, you get all the flexibility that XML, OpenXML, gives to you. PowerPoint 2007 has a lot more of those bells and whistles that you're given because you're able to use the XML. Now, a couple of things that you do want to notice, and by the way, I'll give you two reasons why. If anyone ever asks you, and maybe if you're ever taking an exam maybe or something like that on it, why would you want to use OpenXML? Well, to the two biggest ones, I think, is because of compact files, because the files are automatically compressed. They can be up to 75% smaller in some cases. They're using the zip compression technology, which is really cool. The other is that you have better privacy and more control over your personal information, because now all the things like author names, comments, track changes, any business sensitive information, because it's incorporated in an XML format, you can pick and choose what information is saved in the final document. In fact, we're going to show you, you can strip out that information in a later nugget video. Now, what this also means, though, is that you have XML actually does not have any macros enabled. If you want to run a PPT that has macros enabled, you need to save it in a PPT-M format. So I've kind of just shown you. X means you're using OpenXML. M at the end, right over here, means that it's macro enabled. So this is your PowerPoint presentation, PPTX. That means it's OpenXML. PPT-M means it's macro enabled. This also works when you're using a template, a PowerPoint template, POT. With an X means it's OpenXML. M means it's macro enabled. Or a PowerPoint show, a PPS, with an X it's OpenXML, PPS with an M means it's macro enabled. Wanted to share that with you because it can be important if you are starting to build and put together your PowerPoint presentations and you are going to start sharing these with other people around the world. Do they have the appropriate form of PowerPoint? Is it PowerPoint 2007? If not, you're going to have to know how to go and downgrade the file, and of course that means you lose a little bit of the functionality that you gain with PowerPoint 2007. So just something to kind of keep in mind. But now let me show you how we can actually make it so that way people can view your PowerPoint presentation the way that you intended it by packaging it, and also if you want to be able to save these files, how we can export these as your Office 97 through 2003 compatible files. So let's go ahead and open up our Microsoft PowerPoint 2007 here, where we've got our Acme Vision Presentation 2. And if you've been viewing the CBT Nugget series here from beginning to end, you'll know that we've been adding a lot of elements to this and creating some smart art and using the graphics and doing all that and creating this presentation. Well, up until now, we've been doing this in Office 2007 mode, which means that everything that we do here is things that are capable, and we're utilizing the features of that open XML format. Now the problem becomes when you say, all right, I am going to send this file off to Bob or Sue, and Bob and Sue don't have Office 2007 installed, they have Office 2003. So PowerPoint 2007 is now going to have to be able to be viewed and edited on a 2003 machine. Now the way that we have to do this is we have to go back into compatibility mode. Now the way we can do this is by going ahead and click on the Office button, and then we go back to Save As. Now you'll notice that the Save the PowerPoint presentation is the default file format. Well, the default file format right now is the Office 2007. You, of course, can also save it as a PowerPoint show, which means it's not going to be in editing mode. It's going to be just view it. And then notice this right here, PowerPoint 97 through 2003 presentation. So this would be fully compatible with any of the PowerPoints from 97 all the way up to 2003. That's quite a gamut. So, but the reason why is you're going to be going back to the old PPT file format, not the PPTX, when the PPT is what 97 through 2003 uses. You, of course, can also publish it to a PDF or an XPS file. That's up to you. PDF is kind of cool. This is an add-on that you need to go ahead and get from Microsoft's website, so that way you're able to do it. And then, of course, there's other formats which allow you to do things like save it as pictures. You can save each file as an individual JPEG or a GIF, which we've shown you, and we can do that. Now here, the cool thing is if we do a PowerPoint 97 to 2003 presentation, I click on it, it says, all right, you want to go ahead and save this. What's one of them that you're going to do? We'll go ahead and say that this is the Acme Vision Presentation 2 dash, and we'll just say the 2003 version. So that way I know that this is a 2003. It says it's going to be the 97 to 2003 presentation. Of course, here you can see the difference. We can save it in different file formats. I can change it even from here, but we'll stick with that. Now watch what happens when I click on Save. It is going to come up, and it's going to go through, and it's going to run the compatibility checker. Now the compatibility checker, say that 13 times real fast, all it's going to do is it's going to go in and say, all right, there are certain features that you've added to PowerPoint presentation that are only usable when you are running PowerPoint 2007. Otherwise, it is going to be lost. And so it's going to tell you what it is. In this case, a chart in this document has data in cells outside of the row and column limit of the selected file format. So I guess we went beyond 256 by 65,000 because I'm using Excel 2007 on that particular chart, and it can go beyond that. So it'll just say, hey, can't do that. The shape and any text in it cannot be edited when using early versions of PowerPoint. Okay, on slide 3, which is right there. That's because that's using that smart art. And it says the smart art graphic and any text in it cannot be edited when using the earlier versions of PowerPoint. Slide 8. Slide 8 is going to be, we did the little the organization or sales, how we sell things, and so that one won't work. It'll be there, it saves it as a picture, and then it puts it in. So we say, all right, we do want to check their compatibility when we're saving it into that 97 through 2003 formats. So we go ahead and we click on continue. It goes in, and boom, there it is. Now notice the difference that you see here, where now it says the Acme Vision Presentation 2-2003, and then here in these brackets it says it's in compatibility mode. So now when I do things, and certain things are going to be available to me and certain things aren't going to be available to me. So if you look at this and you say, okay, well, I've got these slides down here, and I go over here to design, or if I want to insert certain things, you can insert smart art, right? Smart art graphic. Links. See, the links aren't working here. Certain things you're not going to be able to get all of the functionality that you would if you were operating with the Office 2007 or the PowerPoint 2007. So some changes were made. You'll notice that this graphic is up here now. If we come down here, we got the clip art and the things that are set into place. For the most part, everything has remained the same, but down here you are no longer able to come in here and once it's been opened up, this one right here. Now I'm still in the Office 2007 here, but if I open up this in a 2003, no one would be able to edit the text or do anything in it. Okay, I don't have 2003 on my computer, otherwise I'd try to open it up and kind of show you that. But just to understand, you wouldn't be able to make any changes to this once it's in that compatibility mode, and it will warn you every time you make some changes here and you run that compatibility checker and save it. It'll say, by the way, don't forget, when this file is not being opened on PowerPoint 2007, you're not going to be able to do some of those things. Now, you might say, well, what if I forget and I save this, I click save and I send that file off to somebody and they're not able to view or edit my PowerPoint? Well, there's a neat little trick that you can do to make sure that every time you save your files, it saves it in a backwards compatible manner. And the way to do that is to come over here, click on the Office button, click on the PowerPoint options, and then of course it brings up our options right here. And one of them down here says Save. Now look on Save. Right now, when you save presentations, it saves it in PowerPoint presentation. That's that PPT X format, okay? And that means that it's going to only be viewable and editable there in a PowerPoint 2007. However, you can go and say, you know what? I want to save it as a macro-enabled presentation, so it'll have that M on the end instead of an X. Or, look at this. I can say, look, I just want to automatically save it. Anytime I click Save, it's going to assume I want to be in that 97 through 2003 compatibility. So this is where you can set that. How do you want to save the files in this format when you just save your presentations? Now there's a couple other things that we can do. This is typically dealing with your document management server files. When you've got a server over there that has all the documents, what you can do is you can have the checked out files. Once you check it off or check it out, it's almost like a library. You take the file out, it will do a draft location here on this computer, or you can go to a different web server that will, go in, and that makes sure that you have to go out and check it back in. So if someone goes in and they want to pull this file and want to do editing on a document management server, it will then inform you that it's been checked out, someone's working on it. And then of course when we get into the CBT Nugget on collaboration a little bit later on, we'll talk about how that all works as well. Preserve fidelity when sharing this presentation. You want that compatibility. And the nice thing is you can embed the fonts in the file. Now this is good when, let's say, remember how I've told you several times during all of my CBT Nuggets, from Word 2003 back in the day up until today, I said whenever I did a format or a text and I did the font, and I said, hey, look, your mileage may vary. You might not have all these fonts. Well, if I want to make sure that you're able to see the PowerPoint presentation utilizing the font that I have or edit with it, I can embed the fonts into the file. And so that way the characters can be used. You can only do the characters. We're reducing file size. Or you might want to do all characters, which means that you get the entire font library and you're able to go ahead and edit that for that as well. So these are just some of the settings that we can do just depending on how you want to save those documents. So we'll go ahead and click OK, and now it's back and it's ready to go. So click off of that. Now, this is good for when we want to save it and go backwards compatible. But what if we want to just say, look, someone might not even have PowerPoint on their computer. How can we save this so that way they can view the PowerPoint presentation? Well, we can package this for a CD that can then be inserted into somebody's computer, and all the necessary files, a PowerPoint viewer, and everything will be included so someone can pop the CD in and go, wow, hey, I'm able to see the presentation. So let's show you that next. Now to do this, we simply come up here, click on the Office button, which will then allow me to come down. And you might think, do I do a Save As, Chris? Well, no, actually you don't. What you're going to do is you're going to come down here to Publish. Now Publish allows you to do quite a few different things. You can go ahead and share a presentation, save it out to the document management server, as we've talked about. You can create a document workspace if you're using SharePoint and operating within those kind of parameters. You can also create handouts. This is nice because what you can do is literally send the information, and then once it hits Word, you can use Word's capabilities to clean it up and make some really neat handouts that you can give. So that's part of the publishing, I guess you would call it. But the one that we want right here is Package for CD. Now with PowerPoint 2007, this is going to allow us to go ahead and take all our presentation components and save them to a CD, or believe it or not just a CD. You can put these on jump drives, you know, those little small USB connected drives that are, 2 gigs, 4 gigs. I mean, they're pretty big. I mean, you can put them on little, keychain size presentations. Those work great. In fact, several times I've used that in the past. You might want to think about that. CD is just the way you go. If you want to do it on DVD, however, you will need to save the files, and you can package it, but you won't be able to save it and burn it directly to CD or the DVD through this interface. You'll have to wait, take it and put it in a folder, and then drag that folder onto the DVD and use whatever software burning tool that you want. So just a note for that. So let's go ahead and click on the Package for CD. It's going to go ahead and bring up the Package for CD dialog box, and it's going to say a couple of things. Number one, what do you want to name the CD? Now, whatever you want to name the CD is obviously what you can. I'm just going to go ahead and just say Acme Instruments, and that way it's something that people are going to understand. Now, you can see that it says, all right, what files do you want to be copied? Now, you might say, hey, isn't that just a waste to put one PowerPoint presentation on a CD? I couldn't agree with you more. Let's say you have a whole bunch that you want to put on for people to be able to view. In this case, I've got my vision presentation. But if I go ahead and click on Add Files here, I can add more than one presentation. And like, let's say I want to add that Powerful Instruments presentation that I created. That's a good one, so I can add that one. So I can click Add. Now it's going to say immediately, okay, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to have the Acme Vision presentations go ahead and play first, or do you want the Powerful Instruments PowerPoint to play second? So we could say, well, yeah, that sounds good. We'll go ahead and do that. Now you can, of course, make some changes for this if you want any of the files. Now let's go ahead and click on Options, and you're going to see that we get the options, which allows us to either do a viewer package or an archive package. Now the viewer package is going to include the PowerPoint viewer. So you're going to actually get the PowerPoint viewer included as part of the package. The archive package, on the other hand, only contains the presentation. Now once you've selected the viewer package, which most people do, you can select how the presentations will play in the viewer. Notice we had them in order there, right? Well, you can do them automatically in the specified order, or you can say play the first presentation automatically and then let it stop and wait for someone to do something. Let the user select which presentation to view, or just don't play the CD automatically, but then someone can open up the CD, click on the presentation they want, and then the viewer will start playing it for you. I usually like to let the user select which presentation to view, so I'll go ahead and select that. Now down below, you notice you have some more options here. You can actually go in and say, okay, do I want to include the linked content that I have? So what you can do is say, well, I want all the linked files. Now remember, I've got an Excel spreadsheet that I've linked down here that I use to put together a table, right? Well, I need to have that linked file embedded. Or if I have a special font, just like I did, remember when I did the save as, I want to go ahead and embed those true type fonts so that way people will be able to view and see exactly what's going on. So that's kind of cool. You also, and this is kind of neat, if this is something that you only want certain people to be able to view, you can have a password that allows to open up each presentation, and because you are including these PPT files, the PowerPoint files, someone can edit them. You can also say, no, you need a password to modify the presentation. So you can do that. You also get the ability to strip any of the private information by saying, let's inspect the presentations for inappropriate or private information, which means it goes through and says, hey, does it give your name, address, telephone number? When you don't want that information, it can then remove that from the presentation. So that's kind of cool. I'm not too concerned about that, so I'm going to go ahead and deselect that. And at this point, it's going to go ahead and you click OK, and you have a choice. Now here is where you can either copy it to a folder. This would be good if you want to put it onto a DVD, or if you want to put it onto, like I said, one of those little jump drives, those little memory sticks that you plug in into USB port. You would go ahead and copy to the folder. If you click copy to CD, it's going to go ahead and say, number one, you got all your linked files, so it's going to have your linked files, and it will also include that if you trust the source of each linked file. So it's giving you that warning. Absolutely, I do want to include those. It's going to go in and it's going to ask you, number one, to insert a blank CD. So I'll actually go ahead and plug a CD in here, just going in and making sure that's in. We'll go ahead and click retry, and it's going to take a second here and think about it. But while it's thinking about where that CD is and doing that, realize now all you've done is you've gone in and you've taken all this information and you've now put all of those, the PowerPoint files, your linked files, your embedded files, and they're now ready to go. So here it goes, copying the files to the folder there onto the CD, and once it's done, it's going to be set up and ready to go. Now, of course, I can go ahead and copy to other folders, copy to another CD, do all those things, but in this case, I'll go ahead and close out, and I've accomplished what it is I've tried to accomplish. And now we'll have a way for somebody who doesn't even have PowerPoint to be able to view that PowerPoint presentation. So we took a look first off at the different file formats that Office 2007, and in this case PowerPoint 2007, utilizes. The PPTX format using OpenXML, or if you want to use the macro enabled, the PPTM format. We also saw that, hey, no problem if you have people utilizing older versions of Office, so if you have PowerPoint 2003, 2000, XP, or even 97 all the way back then, they'll be able to view and edit your presentation. Of course, don't forget, you do lose the functionality that you get with the PowerPoint 2007, but that's okay. Sometimes that might be necessary for you to get your presentation out there. And then finally, we took a look at how we can take everything. Let's say you got somebody that has a laptop, doesn't have PowerPoint installed, but they're the ones that are going to have to do the presentation. You can give them a CD that will give them the PowerPoint viewer and then all of the appropriate files that are associated with your PowerPoint presentation, so that way they put in the CD, they fire it up, and boom, they're ready to go. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.